I'm Craig Miller. I'm the host of the Every Thursday Jam Night here at the Atlantic Hotel, Pub, Saloon, and Showplace. And I'm here with my dear friend Tony Prophet, and we're going to talk a little bit about Tony and his background and what brought him here. Tony Prophet has a familiar name, and even though I said we wouldn't spend the whole night talking about his dad, his father ran a very successful TV show here in Canada for 7 years called The Ronnie Prophet Show. You might remember it. But Ronnie Prophet had a son, and we're blessed to have him living right here with us. Say hello, everybody, to Tony Prophet.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Craig, for having me.
Absolutely.
We've known each other about a year now.
Something like that.
I come down here to your Thursday jam and play a little bit. And Ron, the owner, has hired me for a few of the gigs that are for the bikers and the biker clubs. And,
That's right.
And also on some of the Irish days and special events.
Well, we found we had an instant chemistry right when we met because we both grew up in the States. I grew up in Chicago. He grew up in Nashville. And we have tons of music in common because we were listening to the same radio stations and all that. How did you end up in Nashville, of all places? You were born in Montreal.
So I was born in Montreal, and Dad got a gig down in the Bahamas. And he went down there for a year, and then my mother and myself joined him, and then we joined him again. Then my brother was born, and we joined him again. And some folks in in Nashville, Tennessee, saw him there, and also saw him playing at the Jack Tar Hotel in Florida. I believe that was Fort Lauderdale. And they fell in love with him, and they invited him to go to Nashville and play, leaving my mom and my brother and me in Florida. And he said, well, we're going to spend the summer in Nashville. So we just left everything at the house and went to Nashville. And then we stayed in a hotel for a while, and then we rented an apartment. And then Dad said, well, they've extended the contract. She goes, the kid's got to start school, you know. So anyways, went back to Florida, packed, and ended up settling in Nashville permanently, you know.
So one of the things that amazed me the most, I love all kinds of music, so many types of music, but I do have a deep place in my heart for country music. The thing that really killed me is you were telling me about you'd go to Nashville bars to hear your dad, and when you walked in, the owner would say, "Oh, Tony, no, come here. You're going to sit at the family table." What was that all about?
Well, one story about sitting at the family booth is that Waylon Jennings had a peace sign bracelet on his arm, and I asked him where he bought it, and he couldn't remember. And I said, "You sure you can't remember?" So I must have asked him 2 or 3 times. He finally took it off and just put it on my hand and said, "Don't ask me any questions about this bracelet." And I wore it forever, you know.
And in the story, he mentioned that things like guys like Waylon and Merle Haggard and various people like making breakfast for you and things like this. It's just the connection between these stars is just so amazing to me.
Well, it would be me hanging out with the children of stars. So the Jordanaires, the kids, Dottie West, Waylon's
Wow.
kid was about 4 houses away. We hung out a little bit. And I can't remember the rest of them, quite a few, and we ended up being at college together. Mel Tillis's daughter.
Mel Tillis?
Yeah, and I don't know if Mel and my dad were good friends because Dad had a lot of jokes about Mel.
And an old roommate of mine ended up being in Mel Tillis's production company, so there's another Mel connection.
There's a fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Now, I promised that this wouldn't all be about your dad. It's hard, I'm sure, walking around under the shadow of a man as famous as Ronnie Prophet. But somewhere in your teens, you decided that you wanted to be a musician, and of all things, Ronnie Prophet tried to persuade you not to. What was that about?
Well, you know, both my parents were from farming communities, and the opportunities to go to college weren't there for a lot of our relatives. And so both my mom and dad, you know, wanted me to get a great education and take the opportunities that finances had kind of, we were blessed with. So they would have preferred me to go to university. My mom, she wanted me to be a dentist, right? And And, just because she'd have a free dentist.
You have beautiful teeth.
Yeah, right. But my dad would say, "You're not allowed to play my guitars."
You're not allowed?
I'm not allowed to play his guitars.
Seriously.
And so I would find one guitar that I liked out of his collection, and play it constantly till I actually it looked kind of like the beginning of Willie's guitar, and he finally, said,
Willie Nelson has a guitar that's been played so much it has holes in it where the pick guard gets scratched and everything.
So I still have that guitar, and it's very well used in that. But it was still, my dad would kind of every once in a while say, "I never really officially gave you that guitar." And he did take it back at one point.
Wow.
But I play a guitar by my dad now. I play a Taylor.
The one that says Tony on the headstock?
Yes, that was made by Taylor, and played lots of ovations. We were going to talk about the Fender story, so I'll just break that open. So Dad had been on Canadian television. He had the #1 country show there for 7 years and won a few Junos. And he wore out the frets and the wood, actually, because he didn't maintain his left nails that well, and it dug into the wood. So he phones Fender, and he says, "I need a new neck." And they said, "Well, you'll have to send us the old one and send us some money, and we'll send you the new one."
Fender is the biggest guitar maker in the world. Go ahead.
And he says, "You can't send me one free. People see you every day. Thousands of people see me playing your Fender." They went, "Nope." So Dad started playing PVs.
Wow. Okay.
Thanks. And Ovation would mail them. They mailed me guitars, free.
Amazing.
So one company is very nice to you, and another company is, you're up in Canada, whatever. Who cares?
Ovation, little technical detail. Ovation makes beautiful guitars, but the back is arched and it's made of plastic. No, you're thinking plastic? No, it's the plastic that they use to make helicopter blades. So these are astonishing guitars.
And the nose cone of the spaceship.
And the nose cone. Yeah.
It's the same stuff. I proved it to somebody one day. I took it and turned it backwards, and I hit a brick wall with it. I said, "It's indestructible," right? Which didn't help that guitar, because a cowboy jumped on stage once and put his foot through the front of it.
Well, that's not cool. I think that the owner of Tesla tried to do the same thing. He wanted to demonstrate the bulletproofness of his new truck on one of the ads on TV, and he shot the window and it broke.
That's exactly this kind of thing.
Now, you've traveled all over Canada. You've traveled all over the world, but you lived in a number of places in Canada.
I've lived a few places in Canada. I went to about 17 schools in the States. Once we settled in Nashville, I still continued to.
You didn't like the schools, or they didn't like you?
Both. And I traveled around quite a few of the schools, private schools, Catholic schools, and that. I did graduate and take a year or two at Belmont in the music business. There's a music business school there, so you take copyright theory and studio techniques and all of that. But I went and hit the road, went to Florida to start my career. I wanted to play in tourist areas and ended up working for blue-collar little pubs that wanted Neil Young and Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I was doing Hank Williams and Merle Haggard. So I changed a lot to learn a lot of new material.
Do you have recordings that are out that people can access?
I had a few good songs, successful songs in the 80s, Kentucky Serenade, Kentucky Gold, and recently I did a CD, but I didn't promote it. I did it more for myself, and we've got an original song on there, and it's just a 5-tune CD. So I really always wanted to do a children's CD also. That was kind of my main goal in the 90s, but I was doing so. You're working so much and all the time, and a lack of funds.
But the children's CD thing, you had a big component of your career sort of as a minstrel for children's shows, and I've seen pictures where you're walking along with a guitar and there's a parade of 40 or 50 kids walking behind you, singing the song. How did that start? How did that go?
It developed. I'll make it really quick. I was making okay music in nightclubs, and
this is out west.
Yes, in Vancouver. And I met a little girl who had Down syndrome, and I talked to her mom about her, and she only went to school half a day a week, half a day, not full day, because that's why I questioned her, why isn't she in school?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I got interested. I phoned the school and I said, well, I'm a musician and I'm free in the mornings. Can I come and play for this little girl's classroom? That developed into me playing for the school. The principal told other people, other principals. I ended up doing some school tours. Then I ended up doing some children's festivals. Then I ended up on the board of directors of the children's festival,
Wow.
hiring some of the entertainment and having a $40,000 budget, which, whether it was 15 or 20 or 22 years, I don't know how long I was there. But that was a lot of fun and a great group of people to work with. But of course, I was still working clubs and doing, as much music as I could. And I also ran a guitar teaching facility with 3 other teachers with me for 13 years. And I had a large music program for special needs eventually, later on in the 90s and the 2000s,
I expect that there's going to be some teachers and school people that are going to see this. And if they approach you now and say, will you put together a music program for our kids or do a show for our kids, would you still do that?
It would be under the circumstances, in a small classroom with my acoustic guitar, no problem. I used to do big shows with all the MIDI and the tracks. That's history. That's gone. I don't do that anymore. There was a lot of energy in those shows, and you running around and wirelesses, and I had a nice 10-foot tall dinosaur on stage with me, and I'll show you pictures of it soon.
Okay, I just can't picture that. This fly is driving me crazy.
But I also emceed other festivals, just your normal festivals, So I was hired as a mouthpiece a lot, and especially by the government. The government would have me, any park that was open in Coquitlam from about 1990 to 2015, they had asked me to set up the PA, right? So a little bit of a sound company aspect to that. Mm-hmm. And then the politicians, I knew most of them, and I would open a lot of the parks and new preschools. Nothing was too small. And I even played a lot of like malls at Christmas time with the kids show, and that was lucrative.
Wow. And in a Santa suit and the whole thing?
No, just as Tony Prophet, the crazy rock and roll, playing Your Mama Don't Dance, Your Daddy Don't Rock and Roll, Splish Splash, I Was Taking a Bath.
Oh.
Like kids' songs that kind of had a rock edge to them.
Sure. Here's a question I like to ask musicians when I'm just meeting them. I don't remember if I've ever asked you this. It's a 3-part question.
Okay.
With a 15-second time limit.
All right.
So I'm going to need someone to run a timer. And the question is, in all of music, all the artists, living or dead, in any genre of music, the 3 people or bands that influenced you the most, go.
Well, Chet Atkins, I loved his playing, but that was influenced by my dad. Of course, Glenn Campbell and other people like that. But Merle Haggard's songwriting was big. I loved Leonard Skinner as a teenager because that was the rock aspect of it. Never really wanted too much of Leonard Skinner in my music, except for I always didn't mind a Les Paul Marshall guitar soloist, but I was more prone to dobro and fiddles and steel guitar. Mm-hmm. So even though the Southern rock thing was a big influence and I wanted it, I think one of the reasons I feel like I was more trying to preserve music than create new music, in the sense where a lot of people, what vision I had 30 years ago is now on the radio. I went Southern rock is going to mix, but then you had Dolly Parton doing 9 to 5, which was putting music in the pop thing, but also Ricky Skaggs bringing the bluegrass to country radio. So it was a fun time in the 80s and the 90s with Alabama and Merle sticking to his roots, and Alabama, getting a little bit good showmanship and
radio popified.
Yeah, exactly. And then Garth Brooks just said, "Okay, let's burn the building down."
Yeah.
Which we country music needed that.
And then like Elvis, he began to get kind of big, and eventually I called him Girth Brooks. Let's do some name dropping for a second, even though it's really obnoxious. But with you, the name dropping thing is so fascinating. Just start blurting out the names of some people. Like you mentioned Dolly Parton. Have you ever met Dolly Parton?
No, I never have.
But you've met Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard. You've hung out with all these guys. Is there any other luminaries that?
Merle is California, so I didn't hang out with Merle. I did go to Johnny Cash's house. I didn't meet Johnny Cash. My parents have. But
did he know you were at his house?
Well, his manager took us to his house, took me and my mom, and his bedroom was round. And I always heard stories of him jumping from his balcony into Percy Warner Lake. I hope I have the right lake name there. Anyways, I envisioned this big deck and him running and doing this. The deck was about double the size of this table here. And he would go and he would jump up and he'd have to go all the way around and then climb up a walkway that was more like a cliff.
To do it again.
Yeah, to do it again, right? So what you envision stories and then you see the reality. But yeah, his bedroom was round with a round bed. That was cool. Other artists, Boots Randolph's kid, we hung out a lot.
Boots Randolph was the legendary saxophone player that played the song Yakety Sax.
That's right.
Big hit.
God, I heard it 1,000 times. I was a busboy at his nightclub.
You've heard it. You know, but on saxophone.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of other people that whose names you've dropped with me over the year that we've known each other. There's a whole lot of other people that you've met or played with or sat with. Or...
I think they elude me now. Well, I think one that you were interested in was Muscle Shoals, who was the maker of the steel guitars. And walking in, and the man's in overalls.
Webb Pierce, you talking about?
Muscle Shoals. No. See, I'm messing up my names. You're gonna have to edit this.
Buddy Emmons.
Buddy Emmons.
And Webb Pierce made the first steels.
Or
some of the first.
Buddy Emmons, but Shoals was. I'm mixing up the name, but it was Shoals. It's Shoals' shop where the Buddy Emmons steels were made.
Okay.
And walking in there, and all the craftsmen's. Being in there, no one even paying attention to you. Like spray booths and repairing.
Shot Jackson.
That's Shot Jackson.
What it was. Not Shoals.
Yeah.
Shot Jackson, right?
Hanging out in Shot Jackson's repair shop.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
I just figured out because Show Bud pedal steel guitars. SHO was Shot, and Show Bud it was Buddy Emmons. Shot Jackson and Buddy Emmons.
Mm-hmm.
I got a mind like a steel trap. No, my memory is getting shorter and shorter.
Bill Lawrence had a factory making pickups.
Yeah.
And he invited me down to come hang out with him. And he had all females in short shorts working for him. It was great music coming through the sound system.
And what's wrong with that?
I was like, do you have any ugly guys here? No, it's just him and
who does the hiring?
12 beautiful women, all working making pickups.
Amazing.
And he gave me a handful of seconds. And I hung out with, I'll name drop this.
Pickups are the little electric things that make electric guitars sound.
And all the guitar magazines had lots of ads about him. But I hung out with Lenny Breau, and that was very
one of the best guitarists I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Lenny asked me to play in front of him once when I was about 17 years old. And he said, Tony, you got a good pinky, and you're on your way. You're a finger picker. So that was his advice to me then.
Wow.
I had a strong pinky. Most people didn't use their pinky that well.
One year I went to see the pedal steel guitar convention down near St. Louis, and he was in the house band with Buddy Emmons and all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
He's just a breathtaking player. So it's no wonder with all these kinds of influences, it's no wonder that you've excelled the way you have.
Oh, thank you.
What about other things like if someone comes to you and says you have to play 3 songs right now in front of this huge audience, but you don't have any time to decide, what are your top 3 songs, your go-to?
You Got It by Roy Orbison. Rhinestone Cowboy. And
the great Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, maybe Leaving Louisiana by Rodney Crowell, or a song by Rodney Crowell. But songs that my favorite to sing would be like Misery and Gin by Merle Haggard or Larry Gatlin was one of my big influences vocally when I was a kid. And learning to sing, I had a lot of help. I didn't take vocal lessons, but I had some professional people take me aside and teach me to breathe and to sing out of the top of my head. Not so much about vowels and rolling of the mouth and everything, but really want to thank the teachers that kind of set me in the right direction.
When you get to hear him, you're going to find that Tony has got a gorgeous voice. It's one of those voices that singers wish they had. So they did well. They did a good job.
All right.
What else do you want to talk about?
Oh, I did want to tell a story about my being on the road. We were on the road, and we were talking earlier about what was the craziest story of on the road. So I had my son with me, my wife, my bass player, and a drummer who had his daughter with, all in one van. So we've got a PA, drums, bass player, guitar player, 2 children, and a 3-piece and a mom. So we're in the van, and the radiator is shooting steam out the front. There's a cliff where we pull over, and it's about 175 feet embankment, It could be 300, but it looked about 175 to me, being a rock climber a little bit, right? Judging the distance. And the steam is coming out, and we also had a little bit of a bearing problem we noticed with the wheel shaking. So the steam's coming out, and Kitty goes, "The van's on fire." And I went, "No, that's the radiator. It's okay." She said, "No, the van's on fire. I need to take the children out of the van." I'm going like, "There's a 175 clip. Just keep them in the van." "No, the children are coming out now. The van's on fire." I open up the back door. That hot light, because we had equipment stacked to the
dome
ceiling.
light? Yeah.
The dome light had lit the Samsonite suitcase, which inside was the Q-tips, and the Q-tips were flaming. And the van was on fire. So on the side of the road.
Be careful with your Q-tips. That's
yes. So anyways, that's the best story is just car troubles on the road.
One of my favorite stories that I've told you was crazy things that have happened on the road. Playing a show in deep southern Illinois somewhere for a wedding, way out in the country where people don't normally get dressed up, and you can tell. And our drummer was a real smart aleck. This very old man was out there dancing, and he should have stopped dancing 20 years earlier. And all of a sudden he goes, and he tips over, and they go up and they're checking him, and our drummer yells out, "Hey, we're knocking him dead tonight, aren't we, folks?" And they look up and they go, "He's dead." And every eye in the place looks at the band. And we tore down, and we were gone in 7 minutes. It took us an hour and 45 minutes to set up, but we were gone in 7 minutes. Oh, that drummer. Yeah, so crazy things happen, and you never know what's coming.
That's true.
Have you got any more wild road stories?
I better keep them to myself. No. I was playing. My dad invited me to play Craven with him, which was a big music festival, one of the largest festivals for a while. So
at some point he accepted you as a musician.
Yeah.
After trying to dissuade you.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So you're at Craven.
I'm at Craven. Dad had helped me record an album, and so I was to get up, and I had my youngest child with me. Now, the side speakers, what we call monitors, that one's about 2 feet by 3 feet there, that one. They were as big as a box van on the stage, and they're one on each side like this, and the musicians are facing the audience
show.
up there. Oh yeah, like PA for 40,000 people at least, right? So the microphone's about 10 feet away, maybe 15 feet, and I go, I think I should clear my voice, and I go, and I've got my kid with me here, and the monitors go, and I'm going, it cannot be that loud, is it? And now I'm shaking a little bit, and I walk up to the microphone and I said, "Hi, everybody. I want to introduce my son, Joey. So can all of Canada say hello, Joey? On three. 1, 2, 3. Hello. And they all go scream, Joey. Joey hears his name. He goes, I hand the kid off to Dad, you know, and Joey, of course, is a 2-year-old with a cowboy hat on, and I did my 2 songs, and that was one of the craziest experiences of having 40,000 people say hello to my son, and terrifying.
Wow, that's wild. I think it was Chet Atkins that you were talking to that had some kind of a stage problem once upon a time.
Well, I was interviewing. I idolized Chet Atkins. I was going to Belmont College.
I do too. I love Chet.
And I had to write a paper, and so because Dad was signed with RCA and Chet Atkins was the president of RCA, he got me an interview with RCA. I walked in with my tape recorder. We got a great 35, 40-minute interview. I turned off I pushed stop, and I asked him about the incident where he went on stage and left his fly open. And I really should have left the tape recorder on because it was quite great. His answer was he's going to leave it in the act.
So even people like Chet Atkins leave their flies open, folks, and just doesn't matter. What matters is music. So if you're a musician, play. I keep meeting people who say, well, I used to play guitar, and I used to play fiddle, and I say you still do, and everybody should just keep playing all the time.
Yeah.
We play here every single Thursday night at 7 o'clock right here at the Atlantic. We have a complete band for a jam night. Usually a jam night starts with one person and an acoustic guitar, like you. But instead, we start with a full band. So if somebody wants to come up and play, they can jump in here with a full band of consummate professionals that are happy to be giving back. And we have a great time. Tony comes out from time to time and jumps up with us. And I hope you guys will too. Anything else you want to cover?
Not a thing. Just the audience here is great, and I've very much familiar with the music scene out west, but still in kind of learning and meeting great musicians out here. And there's a lot more music happening. Vancouver seems to be, too nightclub. Not that much live music happening. Besides the big concerts, there's not much of a music scene that I see out there anymore.
Well, since I moved here about 15 years ago, one thing I have found about this area is it is just an incredible jackpot, a wellspring of talent. And every Thursday when we have our jam night, we never know who's coming, and it never ceases to amaze me the caliber of talent that runs in this area, and from artists and authors to musicians, singers, songwriters. It is absolutely a wellspring, and we're really, really glad that you rejoined us here in this community, and it's great to have you back, and it's great to have won your friendship, and I hope everybody will have more of a chance to come out and hear us and hear Tony, and enjoy.
Okay, thanks, Craig Mello.
Back at you, my friend.